more time. Say that one more time. Welcome back. Thank you very much for your time. We're grateful that you can join us and stay with us as well. Let's talk about mental health right now. For those of you who just joined us, it's not new. It's a month to, if you like, talk about the issues of mental health and, of course, lupus as well. But we're doing mental health. We're having on it. Today we're looking at issues around the workplace, the work environment, the corporate world. It's become hell for some people. People don't want to go to the office because there are quite a number of issues on the corridors. By the time you appear, it's a Ghostbusters kind of thingy. And so we want to get into that, help you see how you can navigate some of these complexities. And also employers, if they are watching, tell them to tune in. Employees, if you are watching, just tell them, oh, can we watch Dominion TV so that we can also shape them and creep them into line. But of course, Mr. John Appiah has joined us. He's in the studios and he's going to be helping us largely. Ms. Mami Ekoagezi is also joining us via Zoom if she's on. Good morning to both of you, and thank you. There she is. Thank you very much for your time. Absolutely. Righty. And of course to you as well. Thank you.
I'm happy to be
Yes.
Such an important topic.
Yes.
I hope my boss is not watching.
Right. I don't know where you want to take it from. I've not engaged a lot of people so far. One of the things that I've done in my life is to make sure that once a place is getting toxic, because I know the exit and the entry, I walk out. People have said that it's not okay, but I cannot stay and die. I cannot come and die. Mm-hmm. And so I don't know. I don't have the heart to deal with some of these things because the workplace is supposed to be very, very accommodating and conducive for me to ensure that my talent comes to the fore. And so I try to leave. I know it's a bad thing. You are going to advise on that. But paint a picture of how, especially here in Ghana, what have you heard people say about the working environment? And paint a picture for me.
A lot. But let me just start from where you ended.
Right.
You know, you are able to move because you have built your capacity.
Absolutely.
You have built your network.
Yes.
And therefore you are able to move easily. But not everybody has it that way.
Right.
You know, in this time, it's difficult to get a job. and for bread and butter issues, sometimes you may have to hold on a bit until it gets to the very extreme.
Yeah.
Now, I remember I resigned from a job some time ago and I felt like, me know that. Charlie, I almost died of hunger. You know, because I was like, I can't date, it's too toxic, I'm going to stay home. I almost died out of hunger. You know, but the point is that it's a very serious issue. I'm happy we're discussing it. You know, and most of us who are working, we spend most of our time at work.
That's true.
You leave the house very early, you come back very late. So if for the majority of your time you spend at work, and there's a very toxic environment at work, it is going to affect you mentally, of course, and then physically as well. And then it's going to even hamper your ability to rise up the ladder because there are so many issues that sort of, gets into your way. It's a very grim situation, unfortunately. And a lot of people dread, especially Mondays.
Yeah.
Because Mondays, you don't know who is coming to work with what baggage or excess baggage the person is bringing to work and all that. So it's a very worrying situation. And if you don't know how to navigate your way around it, you'll get yourself into trouble. But I always tell people that you are at work essentially to make money for yourself, bread and butter issues. Those are driving things that you need to have at the back of your mind. And number two, you are at work because you have a certain skill that you bring to the table.
Right.
Sometimes the toxic environment can overshadow that thought. And you begin to even question yourself, am I even competent? You know, because sometimes your bosses can make you feel so useless. The choice of words, the descriptions they use, it can cause you to even doubt the skill you have. But I tell people that once you've qualified through the interview and you have been given the job, you have your appointment letter, always remember that you are competent, you are capable, that is why you are there. And then the last thing I'll say before we go into the deep discussion is that the workplace is not your home. A lot of people have that assumption that, I have to be friends with everybody at work. We need to smile and eat together and all. Look, it's serious business. So you need to change your mindset the moment you enter into the office. You are there to accomplish goals. You are there to help the organization get to a particular level. You are not there to make friends and besties and all those things. Because if you have that perception, you may be very disappointed because people are looking out for their own good. people are looking out for their selfish gains.
That's right.
So if you go there thinking that, oh, we're all working together, oh, let me hold fort for this person and all that at your own expense, at the end of the day, you have yourself to be blamed.
I see. And that's why I don't smile to people like Biadela. I mean, you are not my sister, you're not my friend. We're just here to work and go home. That's it. You know, I'm a very serious human being, but that's it. Belated happy birthday. Let's go to Mami or via Zoom. Is it even a topic for discussion in the boardroom on how to create support systems to be able to tackle some of these mental health issues? Do they come up in board meetings? Are they things that are discussed? Because I'm not sure. Mami, talk to me.
Thank you very much
Right.
for having, and good morning to you, John and Biadela. I really miss being in the studio. But guys, we are more than late at talking about this. And if you're asking if this is a conversation that's happening in the boardrooms, yes.
Oh,
And if the organization is not having these conversations about workplace toxicity, the kind of culture or the environment that employees are delivering the business in, then they are not in this year. They must be in 1991, 92. Why is that? For the work I do, and it's good that you bring in the board, we go to the board and negotiate and tell them that the workplace culture has a direct impact on your bottom line. Literally, the kind of environment you have at work that people leave their homes to come to work in will determine your level of profitability. When we say that, people think, so the conversation about workplace culture and whether it's toxic or productive can look like a fluffy HR thing until we show you quantitatively and scientifically how it is eroding your return on investment and return on invested capital, which for me is the conversation boardroom people like to have. So yes, they're having it. And they're having it because at a certain level, you said that you can walk in and out. When people have honed in their skills and they trust that they've got the talent and the abilities to contribute to the bottom line of an organization, now they're not just looking at how much money they're bringing or the organization is giving to them, how many cups they're able to buy from that, but they're looking at how the environment, what is the kind of culture, what kind of values exist here. So yeah, very senior people say, oh no, I turned it down. No, it's not just about the money. It's not always about the money. And so people at that level are beginning to choose organizations based on the work culture. I've had offers. And when I did my checks with people I know are in the space, they told me categorically, Mami, you cannot survive here. And it's not because I'm not adaptable. It's not because I don't have the power of stay. It's not because I lack resilience. It is simply because my values are so clear that people know that when I go into some workplaces, and I've been a product of a toxic work environment before, and because I'm certified in this work, I'm so passionate about it. Like I want to sleep, wake up, eat, walk. That's why when I got the invitation, I was like, oh yeah, you know how my time is. But this is a serious boardroom, bottom line conversation. So for me, as John focuses on the individuals, the employees that are going to work and what they should be, I am more interested in, as an employer, as a business owner, as a leader that is managing a team, how do you create an environment that creates the same mindset for people to come, like he said, deliver business and leave and go home? So yes, it is happening at the board, in the boardrooms. The conversations are happening, and it is because it is a bottom line conversation.
interesting. Very interesting. I don't know. I've not been to a lot of places, but showing.
I know, right?
Showing. So I'll come back to Mami on that.
So according to 2025 Gallup report,
Right.
Okay.
Well, that's recent.
Yeah.
That's recent. Ghana actually Ghanaians actually are like the third most stressed workers.
What have they been doing?
Third most stressed workers. And let me just read. It says that several African countries experience high levels of work-related stress.
Right.
Liberia and Sierra Leone were identified as facing the highest stress levels. followed by Ghana, then Rwanda, Madagascar. The CEO World Magazine's 2025 Global Emotions Report revealed that 63% of Ghanaian workers experience excessive work-related stress, with many reporting anxiety attacks and sleep deprivation. Right? So this is the kind of people we produce. These are not the people we've employed. These are the people that we as organizations have turned out back into them. So we pick people from the universities, they're excited, they want to work, then they come in. First question they ask you, okay, are you able to do this job? It's quite stressful, but I mean, you've got a job, you can't just go back home, right? So you're ready to do it, but you go all the way. And then you have burnout, you lose yourself in the process. For some people, they have to change their mindset, their whole being, because of the kinds of job that they do. But these are the people that a Ghanaian company typically produces, right? So how can we, change certain things such that practical ways so that we are able to solve these problems?
So I think that from my experience, what I've noticed is that sometimes, even in the recruitment processes, sometimes there may be errors that are made. So people are placed in certain roles that they are not supposed to be placed in, right? Especially if you just look at competence without considering the soft skills part, you may get it wrong. The person may be able to deliver, but the person may not be able to have that mindset and to be able to do the work and do it very well. So I know that most of the time, especially in Ghana, a lot of people that are employed may be doing things that they are not cut out for. And unfortunately, too, the organizations don't give the requisite training and capacity building to get them to that level. So already you are starting at a deficit. And that's where the stress starts coming up, because it's not something that you do normally or typically, but because you need the job. So you may not necessarily be a customer service oriented person, but because that's the vacancy available, you apply, you are smart, you're intelligent, your grades and certificates shows that you can do it. But the moment you get into that role and you are engaging with people and that is not your thing, then that's where the problem starts coming in, right? So I think that right from the recruitment, we need to have a conversation around some of these things, because people are hungry and people will do anything to get a job. But the key question is that, are you putting them in the right places? Because if you don't get them to fit into that right place, it becomes a problem. Waking up and coming to work is a problem. When they realize that it's Sunday, getting into Monday, they are weeping and they are crying, but they have to gather themselves and come. Because already, even in the context of work, they are not properly positioned to be able to do the work. And that's how come a lot of people are undergoing a lot of stress. The other thing, too, I believe that accounts for this is that sometimes the targets that are set for people is just abnormal, for the lack of a better expression. Let me put it that way, right? And I have a problem when you set big targets and you don't give the requisite tools to allow people to work. You want me to bring in $1 million. I don't have a problem with that. But give me the requisite tools to allow me to do that. If I have to use my own money to go for meetings, I have to use my own money to do other things that I'm not supposed to do. I don't even have a laptop to work. I don't have the equipment to do the work. I don't have credit on my phone and all those things. At the end of the day, you are aggravating the stress levels for me. Meanwhile, you are waiting at the end of the month to value what I've brought in based on the target you set for me. So sometimes employers will have to equip their people very well with the requisite skills and also the tools they need to be able to allow people to work. Because if you don't do that, there's a disconnect. The targets are high, but I don't have the wherewithal to be able to deliver. The other thing I'll talk about too is that sometimes the manager-employee relationship is problematic. So if you don't even know what you're expected to do in the organization at the end of the day, it's a problem. Your boss is not communicating with you. You are there and an email comes out of the blue, no context, no opportunity to ask questions, obey before complain and all those things. It is just
that still exists?
I'm telling you. Because the email has come, John, I need you to be at this meeting to do this and that. No room for two-way discussions. The email has come, it's just well noted. And a friend of mine always says that corporate world is full of well noted. Thank you very much, well noted. Well, at the end of the day, it's not just well noted. You discuss, oh boss, I have another meeting at 2, so it's going to crash. But how will you even gather the confidence to tell your boss that, oh boss, I've already scheduled another meeting? Because the stress level coming from the top is just unbearable. So these are some of the factors that, in my opinion, contribute to people feeling very stressed. Sometimes a simple exercise as remapping and also looking at the HR people you have, or having a look at an audit, like an HR audit of what who is doing what and how the person is doing. You can sometimes rearrange things and things becomes better for everybody, So we need to have a look at that. Employers have a role to play, managers have a role to play, and we as employees also have a big role to play.
That's really big. Well, I would like to hear Mami's thoughts on that. Sometimes people get to, accept certain jobs like we've established because there's no other job. But some of the jobs would be toxic. Aside the fact that the environment is not helping, the job itself is not good for your health. You must agree that not everyone is at their utmost health level, but you need the job, right? And then you are competent, you're smart. Probably your body will not be able to wake up the time that Coco and I would wake up and show up here, but you're a good presenter, you can host a show, right? How do you find these things? Or you deal with these things on management levels?
So I would like to take us back to the Gallup report that you shared. And I like for every stakeholder in the conversation to take 100% responsibility for their role and the part they play in this. First and foremost, when you look at the countries, I don't know, but I've worked in Sierra Leone, I've traveled to Liberia around work as well before. When you look at the countries in question and you consider Ghana and why we're here, is because there is more than what the employer can do in the context of how stressful work is in these economies. Correct. There's a big part of infrastructure. There's a big part of socio-political wherewithal of the leaders. I will go back to policy. We have beautiful labor laws. And I dare say that sometimes HR people have to run to the labor law because it's actually the minimum. So when you're talking about, John was talking about the person screaming about going to work on Monday. Guys, people travel 2.5 hours, 3 hours one way to the office.
Yeah.
I don't know how sane those individuals would be on arrival at the office and how ready and productive they can be by that time. And it does not matter that the person has a car, because it's even worse. If you weren't driving and you were sitting in a church, or you could sleep, you could do other things, but you're driving, you need your wits to be about you and all. The person is not going to have to stay behind in the office, not because they love the job, not because they have work to do, not because they are willing to be in that environment, but because the environment or the broader space requires that they stay behind and are able to do 3 more hours. So the person is coming in, leaving home too early, leaving work too late, not because they are giving even 5 hours a day. And scientifically, for the 8 hours that we get paid for, when you have extremely productive individuals, they work maximum 3 hours in those 8 hours. And I'm telling you, even for the most productive environments. So there's a bigger conversation at that level. Why we come up at number 3? We've discussed it on our HR page, and a lot of things feed into it. Now, when you hone into the employer space and what we can practically do to make sure that people are giving up their best without feeling compromised, this is 2025. Look, people are getting called back. People are asked to do different things. But the conversation of hybrid work is not going to go away. I don't know what would happen to make that era leave. There are opportunities, there are tools, there are investments that are required for employers to put in, so employees don't have to come to the office space every day. We have a project, and I've told the team that everybody has to be coming to the office, but otherwise they know me. Just give me my results and go. Because look, the truth is that employees coming in is not just cost to the employee, it is cost to you as well. But what we have seen over the years is even when employers have invested in workstations at home, giving internet, providing the tools for employees have made it a habit that on Tuesday at 9:30 a.m., when we have a team meeting, these employees are not available. You will call. The person is not just sleeping, or the person is not even at home to be able to rush to their workplace. The person is a mokola. So employers are getting to a place where they are feeling, I can't be paying you. And in Ghana, we don't work per hour. Everybody has a certain level of salary that is assured. A few sales and commercial people are working towards those. But we as employees also owe it to the business for the thriving of the business, because employers react, they learn. Sometimes the employees in that particular organization have done nothing, but employers are talking. So immediately they hear, oh, my friend did this and this was the outcome, and that the people were not churning the results. We've had instances where we've given VPN access to people. They are looking for numbers to go for a regional meeting or a team meeting. They are texting. The person is supposed to be online. The person is not there. They are calling the office number. They are not answering. They won't return calls. So everybody, so from the government, which is the bigger socio-political space, which is infrastructural, to the employer, willing to invest in an organization that is 2025 and beyond ready. To the employee, that has to be ready to be trusted with those allowances and privileges. Everybody has a role to play. So practically, just do what you've got to do from where you sit, and let's see if things will get better.
Right.
Now, Coco, I know that you want to come in, but let me add quickly. When John spoke about when people come to work and sometimes they don't even have the attitudes and behaviorals that go with the technical competence, he's 100% right. Employers need to get to a place where assessments are not just for cognitive, because we are believing and beginning to realize that the IQ is only a subset of how people can thrive in workplaces. Things like SQ, which is your social intelligence, your EQ, emotional intelligence, and what I say, how to interwork. Only Saturday we're talking about this, how to interwork. Because you're working, you're sitting here, you're dealing with Asians, you're dealing with Americans, you're dealing with Arabs. And if you're not able to understand that, when a Japanese sends you an email, they're not looking for a long thing, but they're looking to how you've thought about it and what responses you're giving. You're going to get stressed. So people are walking into workplaces. Employers are unable to even assess whether this person has the attributes beyond the technical competence to deliver on the work. My last point will be on values. If employers invest in understanding the values, not just printing and posting it on the reception walls, but understand that values are a real deal in today's organizations, and assess incoming employees to know where their values are and whether these merge and whether these two parties are willing to go the long haul. It would deliver absolutely fantastic work environment, because truly the job itself, when you are able to, when you are willing to, can be tough. So imagine not having all these on. It's going to be it's just bad news. That's all I can say.
I'm here thinking, and that's so. I'm glad you clarified that particular one, because the number of hours we spend at work and the kind of productivity that we get at the end of the day, I couldn't have agreed with that report. But then the issue of staying at Abokobi and working at Central, Accra Central, is for me then the issue. So you are doing 3 hours in traffic, in probably and out as well. By the time you get there, you are stressed and all of that, and probably the money and the problems and all that could bring us, because there's a lot of waste as compared to if you have colleagues who are working outside the country and what they go through, the supervision. And so what Mami was talking about, that people are waiting for you at the meeting you at Makola. Elsewhere, other jurisdiction, you cannot have it all. You are supposed to on your camera, they see you. You are supposed to be there. You see, and you also give us your provisions, the things you want to talk about. But I want us to leave that part and go to reintegration and return to work. Look, I know places that, let's even talk about women and the stress of pregnancy and coming back. Some of them go and they are afraid that by the time they are coming back, they might lose their job. And I have seen people lose their job by just going and coming, no fault. They never did anything, and they are gone, and they'll just use some excuses and all of that. Let's even look at women and all of that. And that's why I say, I'm not sure that the leaders are being trained to process some of these things. As much as someone like Mami will be invited, someone like you will be invited to teach them, I'm not sure their orientation is it, because I've heard a lot of stories, and talk to me about that, women especially.
So it's a very important issue you've raised up, and let me look at it from this way, right? Sometimes, like Mami rightly said, employers learn from experience. So you're going on maternity leave, you've been given a stipulated time, right? Some, maybe through no fault of theirs, maybe medical reasons, may have to stay longer.
Right.
But the others that deliberately decide to stay longer at the expense of the business, right? Now, when they come back into the business, some also sort of put up an attitude, today excuses, tomorrow excuses, all in the name of trying to get more time to spend with the baby, right? So employers sometimes who may have been hurt as a result of them giving that space for people to, as it were, recover and come back and do the work, will now learn lessons and begin to put in stringent measures to ensure that something like that doesn't happen again. I always tell people that people can abuse certain rights and privileges such that the person after them will not get those privileges again because somebody has deliberately abused those things, right? So about reintegrating into work, it's important. You are working with a schedule. You know that maybe from 7 months, 8 months, 9 months, you need that time to actually go give birth and then come back. So it's about planning. That's why I keep saying it's about planning. Because at the end of the day, if you don't plan for some of these things, it will create vacuums in the system.
And you are talking about the employee here.
The employee, and even for the employer as well. Because at the end of the day, what I believe employees don't like is for a vacuum to be created, nobody to fill that vacuum, and yes, still at the end of the month, people will have to be compensated for it. So I think that it's two-way. The employer will have to put in measures to ensure that the vacuum doesn't happen. And even the person going on maternity leave should plan such that, oh, I have trained this person, or I have passed on the information or knowledge to this person, or I have made provisions such that even in my absence, the work will continue, right? If those things are not taken into consideration, it becomes a problem. So, for example, I used to work in an organization where my wife delivered, right? But I didn't tell my boss about it. He was upset. Eventually found out that my wife has delivered because, like, John, you should have told me. At that time, I didn't understand what he meant by that. But, you know, now there are paternity leaves, so there are leaves for, you know. So sometimes the employer or manager or CEO will have to get some of these things to allow them to plan. So, for example, John, I know you work a very strict schedule, but now that your wife has delivered, I'm going to make it a bit flexible for all of us. You can come in at 8 and leave at 4. Or this or that. But where you are working at the blind side of your boss or the employer, then the problems will come. You begin to think the person's unreasonable, but they may not have enough information to base on that to make certain decisions, right? So we need to all take responsibility, because at the end of the day, I've worked in an environment where somebody has returned from maternity leave, and constantly by a particular time, the person is out of the place. Whether the work has been done or not done, the excuse is that, yes, my baby is at home, I have to go and take care of my baby. No wonder organizations now are creating that environment where you can even bring your baby to work, because they need you to be able to deliver on certain things. And they also need to create that environment that will allow you to also take good care of your baby whilst you are contributing to productivity at work. So we need to meet each other halfway to ensure that at the end of the day, the goals are achieved, the objectives are achieved, and then we can make some progress.
I know of a government bank that has refused to create anything remote, even when the workers know that this work can be done elsewhere. What I'm doing can be done elsewhere. They have refused just to create it, and they want you to come, wherever you are living at, and come to work and all of that. Mami, I don't know, the issue of reintegration, return to work, even for people who have gone through some stress and want to be given the opportunity to go and come, some of them stigma and all of that, and this women issue as well, pregnancy and all of that. You want to share your thoughts?
Yes, I definitely have a thought or two to share. You know, when we're talking about people management, the human capital, I'll tell you, is the most difficult. In fact, HR people should be the best paid.
I see.
Now, yes, because people are not static. People change. We are social beings. And the world of work is evolving so fast. So John is talking about the part of the employee. Now, I'm going to take the part of the employer. Everything he has said is true. And you will not believe how sometimes, I'm sorry, but my gender can be so irresponsible in that time. Sometimes they come off as though the employer owes them everything. No, it's a choice you've made. And some women have decided to go off the employment scale, to go and do this and come back. You don't have the ability to, you don't have the luxury, maybe the resources to be able to do that. So yeah, that's fine. Now, my question to employers watching us, or anybody in decision-making space or people management spaces, if you are mindful to prepare aging employees for retirement, how mindful are you to prepare your productive workforce for childbearing? I don't know. We assume that so long as I'm paying you, you've got to go and figure that out. Look, there are lots of young people, they don't have the support. Mom is already working. There are lots of Gen Z parents now, young people who are now parents, whose parents are still employed. So they don't have the luxury where grandma is fully available. 1, 2, they don't have the wherewithal to get a full-time nanny. They don't have the space to pay for the drop your child at 6 a.m. pick the child up at 8 p.m. They can't pay for it. So they will find ways around it if the employer pretends not to see the concerns. And that's why we all say that in Ghana, a lot of people pretend to work and the employers also pretend to pay. And that pretense is not helping anybody. It's only creating stress. Employers are stressed, employees are stressed. So my go-to will be, as I'm saying this, I'm advising myself because I have one sitting with me. Prepare, and I have conversations with her all the time. Prepare their minds, because not every organization or employer will be able to give more than the 3 months stipulated in the labor law. The big multinationals are doing it. It is cost to the business. How many even standing, strong organizations can do that? A lot cannot. So prepare them, let them understand. Don't throw just the policy in their faces. And that's why I like to engage people. What's happening? How's it going? Sometimes it looks like you're getting into their personal beat. But well, if you don't open up, then the policy would work. So have conversations with them. How's the pregnancy going? Knowing they're having complications. It shouldn't be at the end. Some employees will keep everything to their chest, and then the employer gets shocked to see a doctor's letter saying that the person requires 6 months of work. Paid by who? you understand? And someone will tell you as an employer, he understands what I'm talking about. The rise of the pay cost on every employer's cost of doing business can be so scary, because it's the last thing you want to owe the people. I know some people have the guts, but I don't want to owe my employees. So we need to begin to get into the mind space of preparing our employees ready for maternity, so that we create this dual highway of sharing information and supporting, and prepare the team that the individual works in. If the person is a sole contributor, like a PA who works for an executive and it's going, we need to, like you're saying, 7th month. The truth is that if you're going for your antenatal, they'll tell you from week 36, anything can happen. So you already need to prepare. You don't wait till 2 days to pop in before you start trying to do your handing over notes. No, it won't work. So employers, let's prepare them. Let's prepare them. Even the farthest in the scene, employers must begin to prepare, because a wife could go through so much that the guy cannot have the peace of mind to come to work and deliver. So it's not just the women. And if you don't have a social supportive circle, and supportive is presence, money, knowing what to do, being there to do what to do, because some of these whole families are abroad, they are here alone with the husband who has no clue, so it's a whole lot. It's a lot. So the mix of the issues are that, like I started by saying, every party know what you need to do, commit to doing it, and be responsible for it. I'm just so passionate about this workplace thing, because it can make or unmake our productive world as a country. And that's our economy right there.
I see.
Yeah.
Interesting. Is there anything we've not touched on finally before we go? Anything on your mind?
Yes, I also think that as employees,
Right.
we need to always find ways around it, especially when our employers seem not to be concerned.
Okay.
There are support systems we can build for ourselves that allows us to be more productive.
Right.
So I will encourage a lot of employees who are facing a lot of difficulties. And sometimes because of bottom line issues, organizations may not be prepared to do certain things.
Right.
But within the means of employees, they should be able to come together and look at how best they can look out for themselves. I think that's very important.
Okay.
And the issue of knowing when to walk out is very important.
Okay.
There are some of the matters and issues you can actually overcome, you can actually handle, right? And there are some of them that if it gets to the point where you are being mentally abused,
Yes.
verbally abused, even physically or sometimes sexually
Physically.
abused, you need to walk out of the place, no matter what the conditions are. So you need to be able to know some of these things. And then also about the reporting systems. If you are facing specific difficulties, you should be able to escalate matters. Sometimes employees don't know how to escalate issues. You can have a particular boss who may be the source of the toxic environment you are faced with, but there should be a mechanism that will allow you to be able to take it a bit higher. Because for all you know, your boss doesn't take some of these issues to the senior board or to the senior manager. So at the end of the day, you are just faced with a problem in your corner that even the organization as a whole doesn't even know about. So the mechanisms for reporting, if the issues you raise with your supervisor appears to do nothing about it, you should know who to escalate it to and then get to the very highest point to ensure that some of these matters are resolved. Other than that, you stay in your own corner and continue to suffer for things that you're not supposed to suffer. So I think that employees will have to be very proactive to be able to identify some of these gaps, and they should be willing to be able to escalate matters. Don't keep it to yourself and go and cry at home. There are procedures or processes you can go through to make some of these complaints and reports. And for all you know, even the C-suite executives, they don't even know this is what's happening in the organization, unfortunately, and you are bearing the brunt all by yourself. Sometimes just changing a single supervisor can change the entire environment for everybody in the organization. So we should all be productive and be willing to be able to hold responsibility. Other than that, we can blame ourselves at the end of the day.
Quick thoughts.
Yeah.
As part of the 24-hour economy and, of course, the issues of the Accelerated Development Export Authority, the issue of changing the labor laws to fit in, so the hourly thing, are you one of those who would want to?
We have to be, as a people, we need to be ready for that.
Okay.
Because like Mami rightly said, there are people that know that at the end of the day, this is how much I'm going to be paid.
Yes.
But if you are doing hourly rates, your productivity is on spot. It's monitored.
That's true.
And people will have to wake up to that. Because if you don't do that transitioning or preparation very well, people will mess up, I tell you.
I see. Interesting. Final thoughts, and by way also of the issue of the hourly thingy, Mami.
Yeah, I was going to bring that in. I want to say that culture is one of the things that employers have to begin to invest in. No, investing in that is actually investing in your bottom line. So first, culture is the one thing that, John, it does not come from employees. The leadership, everything happening in the organization is either actively or passively sponsored by leadership.
Right.
They can be actively involved or they can be looking away, allowing it. So employers at the C-suite, the boardroom people need to begin to invest in that. And that investment beyond the overall environment should go into training the people that manage people. So letting them understand. Some people are really, really helpless when it comes to these. And like John said, sometimes the employers have to have the courage to remove a human being because that can change a lot of things. And on the hourly rates thing, if we don't put in place the measures, the policy, and support for the businesses that will be doing the 24-hour work, it will be a whole chaotic environment we are not prepared for. So I'm all for it because I'm a big productivity champion, but we need to be prepared and not just make it a slogan. Yeah.
Yes, it is. Mami Kwagezi is with 565, and of course, people in Enabler. For those of you just tuned in, these are very wonderful people. Mr. John appears President African Chamber for Youth Development. You're going to be seeing them more often, especially in the month of June. Thank you very much, guys, and we wish you all the best. Make sure you take care of yourself. It has rained, so please drive carefully as well. Mr. John appear. Coming up is a conversation. How far? We're getting into June, so half of the year is gone already. Telecommunication, the hubs, and all of these other things. Let's talk about it and how it's connected to, again, productivity as far as our country is concerned. Of course, the bits and pieces of the things, the hustling we want to do. We'll gather some young people, of course, some